Welcome to our discussion on something very exciting from Fox, their new electronic suspension system called Live Valve.
Live Valve?
We've been riding this thing for a couple months now. We went over to the official launch over in Fox headquarters in Asheville, North Carolina. We saw the system in pieces, we saw the prototyping process, we saw how it transfers into the automotive industry and off-road vehicles, and we've had this bike in our hands in Australia for 2 months.
Mick, this is pretty exciting stuff.
It is. I know electronics and mountain bike tend to freak a lot of people out, but this is some serious innovation. A lot more exciting to us than what we've been seeing a lot of lately. Longer top tubes, wheel size compatibilities, better cable routing.
Blah, 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 blah.
This is pretty cool.
So Mick, what is it that you're so excited about? What is Fox Live Valve and what does it do?
It is aiming to make your mountain bike more efficient by automatically adjusting the compression faster than humanly possible, without you having to do anything or think about it.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
How?
That's the...
So the origins of this system, the Live Valve system, is actually in the world of motorsport.
That's right. Unlike a lot of the other major suspension players in the mountain bike industry, Fox have their fingers in other pies. Is it pies?
Yeah, is
it the word?
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Hi, my name is Nobu. I work for Fox and I'm part of the Advanced Products Group. Fox just released Live Valve for bicycle, but that's not the first application that we've used Live Valve in. We've actually had it in side-by-side for about a year, and we've released it on the Ford Raptor just recently.
So that's kind of the dream scenario, isn't it? Like a bike that is totally efficient, but without you having to muck around and stuff around with lockout levers or remote lockouts and all that kind of stuff.
Exactly.
So that's obviously going to be a fairly complicated bit of engineering to make that happen, more electronics.
What it actually does is it simplifies the experience for the user via what might sound like a complicated system.
Yeah, so you're bringing in a whole bunch of electronics, but the way you ride the bike is far simpler than before because you're not having to worry about toggling suspension.
And I've been riding it for a few months and it really is something you forget about.
That does sound like a great scenario. That's kind of the dream outcome, particularly if you're someone like me who doesn't like to muck around with lockout levers on my fork or my shock. But how does it actually work? I mean, what are the bits and pieces that allow this to happen?
Live Valve has been in development with Fox for a very long time, and hence you would have seen it pop up on the internet over the last few years. What we did know was there was a sensor on the fork and a sensor on the chainstay to detect bumps. But what is in the middle of the bike is what makes it very different to any system we've seen in the past, which aim to do the same thing, like the specialized brain and the now defunct Lapierre ER system. There's two parts there. You've got a battery sitting on a little computer thing. And the little computer thing detects the tilt of the bike.
So you mean like up and down versus not side to side?
It detects if you're climbing or descending.
Yeah.
So it can tell the incline and decline of your bike, and also if it's free falling. So using accelerometers, it knows a lot of what's going on.
Yeah, right,
Yeah.
Okay. So it's reading the terrain and feeding that back to your fork and your shock. So Mick, paint the picture for me. I'm riding around on my $19,000,
Maybe less.
yeah, my reasonably expensive Fox Live Valve equipped mountain bike.
Yep.
What is going on with my suspension? Is it locked as its kind of default state, or what's happening? Tell me.
Your bike is locked until you hit a bump.
Right, okay. So if I'm pedaling across the car park over there, my suspension is going to be
Firm.
firm.
Firm and efficient.
Right, okay. So then, I've been riding around on the flat terrain, my suspension is nice and firm, it's super efficient. I'm up, cruising up a gentle climb, up ahead of rocks, dangerous, sharp, pointy rocks, I'm about to ride into them. My front wheel hits that first rock. My sensor detects it. What happens to my suspension then?
Opens within 3 milliseconds.
Okay, so suddenly my suspension becomes active like it would normally, there to absorb the bumps, etc.
And keep
Keep traction
along.
Yeah, perfect, okay. Does it then stay open for a while, or what happens?
If you're climbing,
Yep.
in the case of this bike and how we have it set up here, it opens for half a second before closing again.
Right, okay, so if I hit another bump though, it'll stay open.
Yeah,
within
that half a second.
Yeah, okay, okay. Wow, so it essentially has gone from locked to open to locked again, and it can do that. It can do that what in
3 milliseconds.
3 milliseconds, which is faster than I can do anything.
Yeah.
Cool then. So that's how it works when we're climbing.
Yep.
What about when I start descending? Does the bike know that I'm descending, and how does my suspension behave then?
If your bike is descending and the nose of the bike is down,
Yep.
You hit a bump, instead of staying open for half a second like you were climbing, it opens for longer. So you could be descending and it might not never lock again for a one-hole descent.
Yeah, you'd expect that on like most descents, you're going to be hitting a bump more than every 2 seconds. So your suspension essentially is just going to stay open.
Yep.
That's great. Okay, perfect. That makes perfect sense to me.
Sounds good, huh?
So then, what about when I drop off something?
Well, if you drop off something, you're not detecting any bumps,
Yeah.
but the system knows when you're free falling. It detects free fall, so it opens straight away.
Okay, that is cool. That is a big point of difference because, for instance, on the Specialized brain,
Yep.
if you land something off a drop, you feel that clunk as the suspension then reopens.
Especially on the EI, the Lafayette system, if you landed rear wheel first, it was always locked.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so that's really smart.
Very smart.
Free fall detection.
Yeah.
So then, all this suspension opening and closing happening in 3 milliseconds, that's fast enough that I guess you really don't feel it or detect it at the handlebars then, that's the whole idea.
That's right. The speed
much
of
faster.
the speed of the system is what makes it so special.
Okay. Can you hear it?
You can hear it.
Yeah, okay.
Yep. There's a little clicking, clacking sounds from the inside of the live valve.
So then, Mick, the compression settings, when you talk about it being switched on or off, is it literally that? Is there 2 settings? It's got like an open and a closed, or is it adjusting it through a spectrum of variable compression?
It's not. It is not variable. It's either open or closed, and how firm that closed position is set by the bicycle manufacturer.
Right. Okay. So, for instance, on something like a giant Anthem, which we know is going to be coming with the live valve system, you'd imagine that firm setting is going to be set firmer.
It's a cross-country race bike, so
Then,
it's going to be quite
something
firm.
like this.
That's right. Yeah.
Okay.
Oh
shit! No!
I'm Chris Kokalis with Pivot Cycles. We're here to talk about the new Fox Live system on the Pivot Mach 5.5. Anything that drives technology forward, we're into. You don't have to think about it. It just works for you. You climb a little bit better, you descend better, and the bike remains really composed in every situation.
Now, with, for instance, the Specialized brain system, you've got adjustability over the threshold at which the suspension opens and closes. Have you got a similar kind of adjustability with this system?
You do. It's the breakaway adjustment, it's the breakaway adjustability. The threshold bump sensitivity is adjustable in 5 settings between 1 and 5.
Okay, so you can have it so the suspension opens to really, really small impacts, or you could have it so it stays locked out until it hits bigger impacts.
Bigger impacts, and that's adjustable via pressing a little button on the system, so you can do that. Yeah.
So one thing I was trying to get my head around, Mick, was where we're going to see this system used the most, what categories and styles of riding. Straight away, my mind went to cross-country racing, where you want ultimate efficiency. But this system is also going to be available on the Pivot Mach 5.5, which is not a cross-country race bike. It's an out-and-out kind of trail bike, really. Where do you think it's going to be most popular?
I think we're gonna have to wait and see where it fits in, because ultimately we're all trying to go for a bike with more efficiency, right?
Yeah.
Whether it's a big bike or a small bike.
Yep, totally. It's also going to have a lot to do, I guess, with which manufacturers are willing to take a risk on it, because...
Which is a very big topic, because so far only 3 brands we know of are going to be using this system.
Yeah, so Giant.
Yep, Scott and Pivot.
And the Scott bikes apparently aren't even coming to Australia, the live valve bikes.
Yeah, maybe not at this stage. So we know that the Giant Anthem, a cross-country race bike, and the Pivot Mach 5.5.
That's not very many bikes. I know Fox would be hoping that there's a lot of consumer demand for this, because they've obviously invested countless amounts of money and time in this. They really need this to be widely adopted. So looking at the way that the whole system is integrated into the bike, it's pretty neat. There's some wires that you can see around the fork. The rest of it's all pretty hidden away though. Was there ever any consideration of going wireless with the system?
Yes, Fox definitely did work with Bluetooth and other sort of wireless things, but it was never going to be fast enough or consistent enough than the wired system.
Okay.
If they're trying to go for 3 milliseconds, they could only ever get closer to 10 plus milliseconds, and it wasn't consistent with Bluetooth.
Yeah, rightio. Can it be fitted aftermarket?
Not at this stage. It is an OEM spec option only, so you got to buy a bike with it.
Rightio. And if I have a bike that has this system and I decide that I don't want it, what can I do?
You're gonna have to change your fork and shock, so it's a completely holistic system.
What are we looking at in terms of the dollars that this system is going to add to a bike?
On a comparable bike, 2,000 US on top of an existing bike,
Yep.
and a Scott you're looking at around 1,800, 2,000 euros on top of an existing Scott.
So the only bike I can really draw a direct comparison here with is obviously the Anthem Advanced Zero, which was $9,000 last year without the Fox Live Valve system. The new one is going to be $11,000. So we're talking about a $2,000 increase in price straight up
Yeah,
for having this system. That's a lot of cash.
yeah.
So Mick, after spending a good few weeks on this system now, 2 months, what are your final thoughts?
I really like the system. I'm very impressed with what considerations Fox have taken into account to bring it out.
Yeah.
It does what it's promised to do. It works really very well, though it is very expensive and it's limited. It's only going to be available on a few bikes for now.
Yep.
But what I do feel is that they are dipping their toe in the water for a very big world of electronics and suspension.
Yeah.
And with a super powerhouse like Fox behind it, who knows where this can go. The possibilities are endless going forward.
Yeah, totally. I can see there's going to be plenty of people who are going to be critical of this system, like people always are whenever there's a new innovation. What would you say, Mick, to those people who are really vocal critics about the complication that this brings to the bike?
Well, yeah, I mean, it does seem like a complicated system from the outside, but in the end, what it really does is it simplifies the experience for the user.
Perfect.
Yeah.
So that's it.
Pretty much, yeah.
So, Fox Live Valve.
Let's see where this technology takes us over the next few years.
Yep. Now we're going to go ride this thing.
Yeah, it's fun.